Hello again, guys. So in this video, we'll be talking about the hero's special moves. To begin with, we need to talk about hero's unique mechanics. The first one is his MP. He has 100 MP, and all of his special moves, as far as we know, cost MP. And what this means, we don't know at this point if he'll be able to recover MP or not. Although there's certain theories that there's certain values of MP in pictures that we've seen like 93, 41, 49, which seem weird. So people are theorizing that either he can recover MP or there's some really low cost MP moves so that you can get those numbers with math. But for now, we don't know if he can recover. So what we know is that he'll have a limited amount of specials that he can use per stock. So you have to use them wisely. His other unique mechanic is that he has a menu with many specials. So there's different theories as to what this menu is. There's people that believe that there's only one menu and then you have three set moves. So you have like neutral special, up special, and side special set forever, and down special is a menu with 4 moves. The reason why I personally don't believe this is because we've seen other moves aside from the 4 in this menu that also do this thinking pose. And this thinking pose is important because this thinking pose is the pose that happens when he opens the menu. This is basically confirmed just because it can also happen in the air, like here. And it would be weird for this to just be like some neutral animation that he does both on the ground and on the air. So you can see that zoom and bounce also summon this animation before they begin. And they're not in this menu. So I don't believe this is like only his down B and then he has three set moves. Another theory is that in the character select screen, you'll be able to choose 4 specials for your down B. So you have 3 set specials, neutral B, side B, and up B, and then your down B, you can choose from a list of around 12 specials to put into your down B. This is plausible, this is possible, but I don't believe it either. I think this is complicating the character way too much. Plus, I believe that they want to make the character select screen as simple as possible, just because of all the complaints from Smash 4 from the community, both casual and competitive. Uh, the third theory, and the one I believe the most, the one I think is accurate, is that all 4 of his specials have a menu. So his neutral B has a menu, his side B has a menu, his down B has a menu, and his up B have a menu. And in this theory, people believe that all menus have 4 moves just for consistency's sake. There's no reason to believe they have 4 moves, just, yeah, it's consistent. They all have 4. If it worked this way, basically the way you would summon the menu is by holding the B button. And if you've already seen the trailer, you know he has charge moves, so you might ask, oh, how is he going to charge his moves? He's going to charge it just the same as Samus or Lucario or Mewtwo, where you have to double tap to perform your move. So you tap it once, it starts to charge. You double tap, it throws a move. The reason I think this theory is really strong is because we've already seen 3 moves that look like side B. We've already seen 3 moves that look like down B, and we've seen 2 moves that look like up B. And these 4 moves, they all sound like neutral Bs. So it makes perfect sense for it to be 4, 4, 4, 4, and just be like, oh, we're missing 1 side B, 1 down B, and then 2 up Bs. And we have a picture of something that looks like another down B, so we might have all 4 down Bs if this theory is to be believed. So now let's actually start with his specials, now that I've explained some of the theories behind it. The first special that he performs is snooze. And snooze, the projectile seems to spawn around frame 7 to 9 after it's been chosen. So here's another thing you need to know about Hero. He has some frames before he does his thinking animation, which I believe those frames before he goes into the thinking animation are the frames of like quick cast. So I think that after you've done your first ability with the menu, the next time, if you only tap the button, the menu will not come up. He won't do the thinking pose, he'll just go straight into the ability. That's a belief I have. Some people believe the menu has to be opened every time, but there's a certain reason that theory is probably not correct, and it's because we've seen him performing moves without doing the thinking pose. So the frame date I'm giving you right now for snooze is after you've already done the thinking pose and already chosen your ability. The projectile spawns around frame 7 to 9, and it leaves his hand around frame 11, sort of. Frame 11 to 13-ish. No, frame 9 to 11. The way I calculated this is by looking at, if you see the 100, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So now when it comes here, whenever that depletes, this is 9. So this is 8, this is 7, this is 6, and this is 5. And this is 4. This is where it spawns. It could have spawned earlier, actually. This is the first frame we know. It could have spawned earlier than this, and it leaves the next frame his hand. Also, snooze puts your opponent to sleep, and look at the hitbox on this. It's actually pretty huge. I personally believe this move is going to be amazing, just because the end lag seems to be less than 30 frames. It seems to be that the move lasts, or sorry, not less than 30 frames, less than 50 frames. 50. It seems like this move is going to be like a Mewtwo disable, only with a much bigger hitbox, and maybe a quicker startup. I don't know, just because of the frames before the thinking pose, but maybe a quicker thing. Later on, I'm going to give you, there's certain moves that share frame data before the thinking pose. You could theorize, and this frame data is about, it seems that the thinking pose is like 7 to 11 frames before the thinking pose starts. If you add it to this startup, we're talking about 14 frames before the projectile spawns and about 16 to 17 frames or something before it actually starts moving, which is disable frame data wise. It's like disable startup, only it's much bigger. I don't know if this frame data I'm giving you for the before thinking pose startup is accurate for all moves. It is accurate for 2 moves. I don't know if it's accurate for every single move. So take that into account. Next up we have bounce. And bounce, the effect of bounce starts around frame 7 to 9. The reflect, but in this clip it doesn't reflect until frame 17. But that's because it doesn't have a projectile to reflect before frame 17. So the thing about bounce is a lot of people are theorizing you can move while you have it active. Why do people think that? It's because in the game you can actually move while bounce is active. And also, the second reason is because look at how he turns around. There's a lot of characters that can turn around while they have the reflector up. Fox, Wolf, Game & Watch, they can all, Ness, Lucas, they can all turn around while they have their reflect up. But the thing is, they turn around instantly. They don't have a turn around animation like this guy does. So that could signify that he can move while it's active. The other reason people think you can move is because he actually performs a special move while bounce is up. He performs Psych-up, which is this. The people know this is Psych-up because it's the same animation as the Dragon Quest games, where he gets that power up around him and he does that Super Saiyan move, like that Super Saiyan charge up. You might theorize this is a taunt, but the reason it's probably not a taunt, it's almost definitely not a taunt, is because Psych-up is one of the abilities in this menu. So, like, why would the Psych-up animation be a taunt if Psych-up is an actual attack in the game? Bounce seems to last more than 2 full seconds. The thing is, I do not know if this is because it resets every time a projectile hits it, sort of like Joker's Rebel Guard. It's a possibility that every single time a reflect hits bounce, it just resets time. Or if it's just the fact that it lasts more than 2 seconds. My theory is that it has a set amount of time, probably 3 seconds that it lasts, and that's it. Psych-up seems to last longer than 60 frames. Again, this is the animation. It could be interruptible before that. It lasts more than 60 frames of animation. And Psych-up's effect is that your next attack will deal a lot more damage. And this is what people think happened in the forward smash clip where it goes into Summon effect. People think he had already done Psych-up. The only thing wrong with that theory is that all damage boosts currently in the game have an effect. Revenge has an effect. Limit has an effect. Arsene has an effect. Deep Breathing has an effect. It's weird that Psych-up doesn't, but that could be easily explained by the fact that this character isn't finished and they just haven't done the revenge effect on him yet. So, take that as you will. Here's what people believe, or let's go with Zoom first. So here's Zoom, and Zoom is a recovery move. It's basically Pit's up B, only The startup is about twice as long. So the startup of Zoom is 31 to 33 frames before he starts moving. And again, all of this frame data is after he chooses the ability, after he's already picked it. But he travels about twice as fast as Pit. So he travels much faster than Pit after he already starts moving. This startup is about in between Wolf and Fox, but he moves much faster than Fox. It seems like he has no hitbox, just from like what we can see on the video. It doesn't look like he has a hitbox, so take that as you will. It's not the best of recoveries, but it doesn't seem bad. This is a picture of what people believe to be heal. This animation is not seen anywhere else. It is not the Psych-up animation, because the Psych-up animation, he raises his other hand. There's a bunch of differences that we don't need to go into. But this animation is not seen anywhere else, and he has a healing effect around himself. Plus the fact that every single protagonist in the Dragon Quest games has been able to use heal. So people are theorizing this is his 4th down B. But keep in mind that this could be a staged picture. This could be a taunt, and he just like ate an apple, a tomato, a heart container, or whatever right before doing the taunt, and that's why he has a healing effect around him. So it could be anything, but it could be heal, so get excited. So next up, let's talk about the 2 specials we're not going to see in this video, which are Oomph and Sizzle. They are just mentioned in names. Oomph is a damage boost that's just like time-based as opposed to one hit. So it might work like Shulk's auras, where for a limited amount of time you're slightly more powerful. Sizzle is a fire spell, and he does cast a fire spell in the video, but that's not Sizzle. Just because Sizzle is normally an area of effect spell, plus people describe it as a wall of fire as opposed to a fireball. And the confirmation that that spell is not Sizzle is that in the Japanese trailer of the hero, he actually says the names of the spells out loud. And he does say the Japanese equivalent of Frizz, which is another fire spell in the games. So the fireballs that he does throw in the trailer are actually Frizz level 1, level 2, and level 3, Frizzle and Calf Frizzle. So it is not Sizzle. So now let's talk about his other specials. And the reason I left these specials for last is because I want to explain some concepts that I believe haven't been talked about in any other video or place. The first one being how he charges his move. As we know, he does charge his moves. You can see a level 1 Frizz and then a level 3 Fizz. And we know these are Frizz because in the Japanese trailer, he actually says their name out loud of every single spell. Like here, this is a Japanese trailer. He says Merasoma, which is apparently his level 3 Frizz or Kafrizzle. And basically, if you see the circles around him as he's charging the move, they start to form. My theory is that these circles denote the charge level of your move. So every move, most moves in Dragon Quest have 3 levels, although some have 4, depending on the Dragon Quest game. And I believe in Smash Brothers, they gave the moves that are chargeable 3 levels. And the way it charges is before the circles are halfway through, it's always going to be level 1. After the circles are halfway through, it's going to be level 2. And when the circles actually complete their whole loop, it's going to be level 3. Basically like a Robin Thoron kind of thing. So another thing that supports this theory is that when he releases the spell, look at how his animation jumps and how the circles complete instantly, right? But if you look at when he's charging the move here, when he releases it, the circles are already complete. And his hand is already at the position it normally jumps to. So that tells me that the animation will slowly go into this animation while the circles form. And that is how he charges the move. Aside from that, the other thing that you can denote from this is that every time he casts a spell, the circles complete and they become yellow. You can also see it here. So you can see the charge here of Sap going into Sap level 2. Look at how he forms the circles. Right? And then he performs a level 2 Sap. You can also see here a level 1 Sap. He doesn't even start forming the circles. He just instantly releases it. And this is the same move. But this is level 1 Sap. So the other thing I wanted to take you to take note of is when he releases the move, it goes into this yellow animation, and this always lasts the same amount of time. It lasts 13 to 15 frames. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's gone, right? And here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's gone, and it's not charge level dependent, because if you see this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's gone. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's gone. You can still sort of see it, probably because it's 1 frame off. As I've told you, the videos are 1 frame off. So that would mean that this is probably frame 14 to 15 as opposed to 13. It cannot be 13. But yeah, these circles last about 14 to 15 frames, basically. It always lasts the same. This is important because with these circles, I'll be able to get the frame data of a lot of moves that I wouldn't be able to get the frame data of because the video starts them out already being casted. So for Frizz, let's start with Frizz's frame data. It seems like it has about, give me a second. It has about 7 to 11 frames before it actually starts charging. I can't really tell because I don't know if this is the first frame of charging or this is. Like, I don't know if this is the first frame of charging or one of these is. So it has about 7 to 11 frames before it starts charging. It spawns the projectile about 13 to 15 frames after being released. So after this frame, it spawns the projectile at 13 to 15 frames. This totals to about 20 to 26 frames to release a level 1 Frizz. For a level 3 Frizz, though, the projectile spawns about 7 to 9 frames after it's released, but it spawns behind him, as you can see. So he actually releases it in front of him around frame 19 to 21. So this totals like 29 to 31 frames after being released total. So if you were to count, I don't know how long the charge time is, so I can't give you the whole move. But what this means is after you release it, it's like 29 to 31 frames. And another thing I want to say about this clip is I believe that the hero can hold max charge because of this. Look how the circles are already complete, and he keeps going. He doesn't release it instantly. He keeps going for about 12 frames or something. I believe that when he reaches max charge, he can't store it like Mewtwo or Samus or whoever would do, but he can keep charging it basically. It won't make it stronger, but he'll be able to like hold it for however long he wants or for a set amount of time. Sort of like think of Link's arrows. That would be a good comparison. So let's move on to Sap. And this is Sap level 2. Again, I don't know how long it charges. It also has about 7 to 11 frames before it starts charging. Or this one's 7 to 9, actually. So I believe Frizz probably has 7 to 9 too, since this one has 7 to 9. He charges it for a good while, but it seems like he charges more than halfway through. So probably he could have released it earlier. In this video specifically, it's about 51 frames to do a level 2 charge. So just think about it as this spell is less than 51 frames because you could probably charge it a bit less and still get level 2. So less than 51 frames. And look how fast this travels. Like as soon as he releases it, oh, it hits. Oh, also the frame data after you release it, it's about 11 frames sort of. Or sorry, less than 13 frames, not less than 11. Less than 11 is level 1. So less than 13 frames to release level 2 Sap. Level 1 Sap here, which has no charge, I already told you it's about 7 to 9 frames to start charging. And then, or 7 to 11 if you want to be super accurate. It's spawned around frame 11, less than frame 11. So it would give the move mandatorily less than 22 frames. It could be around 17, it could be around 18, but mandatory less than 22 frames to spawn the projectile. And look at something really cool. The projectile goes through people. See that? Look at the projectile on the left. It actually hits Snake and it goes through people. Some people were theorizing that Sap, because he does a sword swing, he actually hits with his sword. And some people were even saying that this was lightning slash. But the reason that's not accurate, or that's not true, is because the sword has no hitbox. Why do I say that? Well, because there's no hit lag on the move. Like all attacks that are attached to your character that hit someone else, every single attack has hit lag. There's no attack in Smash that has no hit lag. And for this, I also tested Wolf's Blaster to see how it would react. Something that also has a projectile and a hitbox. And Wolf goes into like a 10 frame hit lag. So in this case, what's hitting Snake here is the projectile. You can see it sort of. If you look below Snake, you can see the projectile where it's at. And then next frame, you can definitely see it. Like look at it, look at where it is. The fact that it goes through people is really good because that means you can use it sort of like a Ivysaur Razor Leaf. And the end lag on this move seems to be quite good. The end lag is... It seems like it is actually quite possible to combo out of this, at least at mid or high percents, depending on the knockback. Because the knockback seems to be like Snake goes off screen, so you can't tell the knockback. But you might be able to combo out of this sort of like an Ivysaur Razor Leaf too. We don't know if level 2 will be able to go through people. It doesn't look like it, but I would assume it would for consistency. This spell definitely is sort of like a Thoron where it changes its properties depending on the level. So keep that in mind. So next up, this is Swoosh. And we know this is level 2 Swish because of the name he says in Japanese. So this also gives more importance to the theory that the circles are equal to charge level. Sorry. As you can see, he charges and he releases 2 tornadoes. My personal belief is that level 1 Swoosh is probably going to be only 1 tornado. He spawns the tornadoes about 9 to 11 frames after releasing it. And he starts moving upwards around 13 to 15 frames after releasing it. The landing lag on this move is about 19 to 21 frames, but again, I don't know if that's interruptible earlier than that, so it might be less than 20 frames, which is actually pretty decent for landing lag. Like, it's not bad at all. We don't know if this has a hitbox going upwards. It seems like it doesn't. Maybe level 3 does. So, up to this point, he doesn't seem to have any up B or recovery move that has a hitbox going upwards, which might be bad for the character. Next up, we got Crackle Slash. So, Crackle Slash is a slash forward that freezes opponents. I can't know the frame data because I can't see a yellow circle around anywhere. Oh, so for Swoosh, I forgot to say that since we can see the whole circle, we can sort of know the frame data of the move. Because if the time to do the thinking pose is still around the same time, that would mean that you spawn the tornadoes in about 17 frames, 15 to 17 frames, and you start moving upwards in about 20 to 25 frames or something. If that animation remains constant throughout all the attacks. So Crackle Slash we can't know because there's no yellow circles. But this seems like a really quick slash after the circles. But if the circles have already disappeared, we don't know because there's another move that shows no circles, which is Zoom, which I had around here. For some reason, I think it's this one. For some reason, Zoom shows no circles, which is really weird. I personally believe it's because they just haven't added it to Zoom yet. But a lot of people think it's because Zoom is not a spell, which doesn't make sense because he has a thinking pose, so he must be opening a menu. A lot of people think it's because of some other property in Zoom. I have a second theory, which is that all the attacks with yellow circles are chargeable. But that seems like a lot of overkill because we know at least 10 specials that have circles. So that would be like a lot of charging moves. That seems like a lot of overkill. Make of that as you will. So if we go back to get Crackle Slash, there's no way of knowing the startup, but we can know the end lag at least. The end lag seems to be less than 40 frames. And since this freezes the opponent, you probably have enough time for a punish. Like, less than 40 frames, it freezes the opponent. You probably are going to be able to punish your opponent with something. You can also see that this has a ton of range. So look at how much he leans forward. And look at where Wario is. Like, look at where his foot is. His right foot. That's where he started the move. Because he's already leaning forward here. Look at where his right foot is. And look at where Wario's face is. Like, that's a ton of range. That's much more than, like, any smash. Like, that's like Shulk smash kinds of range, in my opinion. I'm not 100% certain on that. So, the next move we're going to see is Kaklang. And this is actually quite interesting. So Kaklang's data, then the invincibility starts about 15 to 19 frames after you release it. And this move, something really interesting that people are not noticing is, this move is actually invincible. Look at the effect. What this means is that this move cannot be grabbed, and this move does not break through damage. Now, people might be comparing this move to Ryu's Focus Attack or Kirby's Rock. This is different. Because Ryu's Focus Attack and Kirby's Rock, they both still have damage effects. Like, when you hit them, they have the actual damage effect. And they both still have hit lag, too. Like, they put Kirby or Ryu into hit lag. And they both break with damage, and they can both be grabbed. In this case, this has the invincible effect and has no hit lag on hero, just like a Starman would, or when you respawn would, or like a Lucas up smash which has invincibility. And the thing about Lucas up smash and Starman and when you respawn is there's no damage that can break it, and you cannot be grabbed. So this almost definitely cannot be grabbed, which is amazing. I don't know how the startup is actually quite bad, but like this might have its uses for like stalling out a limit, depending on how long it lasts. Stalling out our scene. Uh, I like there are some uses for this where it might come in handy. The next move we're gonna see is Kamikaze, and something really interesting about Kamikaze that not a lot of people have been mentioning is, well, first, it's intangible. As opposed to a lot of people are saying this is a counter. This is not a counter. This is completely intangible. There's no hit effect. There's no hit lag. There's nothing. He's just not hit. And the intangibility seems to start immediately. Because if you look, he just released the spell. Like if you look at this, he just released the spell and he's already intangible. So it's intangible, probably like less than frame 5 intangible or less than frame 3 intangible. You will die from this move. Like when you perform this move, you die. Your stock is gone. Uh, we don't know if this kills at 0. I used to believe this killed at 0, but now I don't, just because of how good the move is. Because the one thing I thought could balance this move is the frame data. But I thought this move was going to be useless. I thought it was going to be like a Warlock Punch kind of move. But unfortunately, the frame data is actually quite decent. Since we have the yellow circles, we can know how long it lasts after being released. And the startup is about 73 to 77 frames. If you count the before thinking animation as being consistent throughout the moves, as I've said, if you think the startup, the thinking before the thinking animation is consistent, then this means this has like 80 frames of startup. The thing is, it has a slowdown effect, and the slowdown effect, I measured it with Greninja's jab. I actually went through and checked how slow it is, and it slows people about 6 to 10 times their normal speed. I personally wager it's about 8 times. Like my personal bet is 8 times slow, but it's like 6 to 10 times slower. And the slowdown starts around frame 40-ish if you're counting the startup of the thinking animation. So basically, when like the actual and the thing is the last 10 frames of the move are actually complete standstill. They're not slowdown. You're completely stuck. So if you actually count the actual frame data on this move, the frame data on this move is like about 50 frames. Like it might be slightly above 50 frames, counting the slowdown and all that, which is not bad. That's less than Ganon's up tilt. Like this is actually like a for its effect. If it does kill like really early, like 10% or something or 20%, for its effect, it's actually a pretty fast move because it also has a ton of range. Its range is about, I would say, like 2/5 of the stage, like 2/5 to 1/3 of the stage is what it seems like. So yeah, it also, if you notice Duck Hunt is shielding, so it also goes through shields. And all moves in Smash that go through shield also go through counter and through super armor. So this cannot be super armor through, and this cannot be countered. You can, however, go through it with invincibility frames or intangibility frames. So you could roll, you could spot dodge. If you just died, you won't die. If you're doing a get up, you won't die. But you cannot shield and you cannot just try to counter it. So I think this move might actually have use. Like it's not gonna be like a broken move, but it might actually see use in like real competitive gameplay. especially when you're like super high percent. So the next thing we're going to talk about is some interesting facts, like how animations changes between levels of spells. This is Frizz level 2. This is a picture of Frizz level 2. He throws 2 fireballs, and look at his throwing animation. It's actually different than Frizz level 1. Look at Frizz level 1. He's not leaning in as much. He doesn't have his sword as towards his back. Like, it's slightly different. But then look at Frizz level 3, and look at the Kamehameha that he just threw. Like, literally, his animation is Kamehameha, which is, to me, it's pretty cool because I like Dragon Ball. Uh, Next, we have this spell, and there's a lot of theories about this. There are some people that believe that you can, in fact, store Sap, Frizz, and that Crackle slash is actually Crackle, and it's just been stored and then hit. And what people believe is if you store it, you can't. The next move you do will throw it as a projectile in that direction. Sort of like imagine Wii-Fit Trainer's volleyball. And they explain this picture by saying this is up smash with a level 2 sap stored, basically. I personally do not believe this theory for many reasons, which I'll detail now. The first one being that this is not the accurate up smash animation. Here you have up smash, and the difference are you can see the knee, the shield, the face, and the hand. The face is looking forward, the hand is looking forward, he has his shield on his hand, and his knee is bent. On this one, his knee is not bent, he does not have his shield on his hand, his face is looking upwards, and his hand is like the other side. It's like sort of like how Roy would hold it. Or the other way around. The other one was how Roy would hold it, and this is how you normally hold it. My belief is that this is just sap level 2 and that you can actually angle the move. But another good theory, which would be amazing, if you can angle the move, especially if you can angle all of them, but maybe it's just sap level 2 or sap level 3. Another good theory is that this is sap level 3, and that sap level 3 starts with like a Pikachu Thunder power-up, and then he throws the projectile, which is it's pretty cool. So no matter what the correct answer is, if it's that it enhances your attack or whatever, or if it's you can angle sap, you definitely have an upwards projectile, which is really good to have because you can cover space above you with a projectile. Another reason people were saying about these animations are this one, which is Crackle slash, and they're saying Crackle slash looks like forward tilt. Yes, it does look like forward tilt a lot. So this is the same theory of the elemental slashes, but the difference is that in this one he's holding his shield, and in this one he is not holding his shield. And the second difference is the end lag. Crackle slash has a different end lag animation where he stands up a bit faster to like get his shield out. And people are saying, well, maybe the end lag animation changes to be a bit faster because you can just do that. But I'm wondering, why would they also buff your end lag after doing one elemental attack? Like, I'm not bought by that theory, to be honest. So, for the other theories I've given you in this video, I also need to give you the cons of them. And the cons for the circles signifying a spell cast is that Zoom has no circle, Crackle slash maybe has no circle, and Psych-up has no circle, which is weird. But then that could be the theory that I said, that moves with circles are chargeable. But then the con of that is that there's like 10 moves that we've seen, or 9 moves, sorry, that we've seen that have circles, and that's a lot of charge moves. But they could all be charged. Like, some people ask, like, oh, what could Kamikaze do if you charge it? Well, it could do more knockback, and that's why it has such a low startup, because you can charge it. Or, like, what could Klong do if you charge it? Well, it could last longer, because it's already invincible, so, like, lasting longer is actually good, as opposed to, like, some other counter-ish moves where you can get grabbed, and lasting longer is not as good. Another theory is the thinking post signifying casts. There's 2 attacks that didn't show any thinking post, and that's Frizz and Sap. But my theory is that it, as I've said, there's like 7 to 9 frames or 7 to 11 frames before the thinking pose. And I think it's just if you tap the button, you never get the thinking pose. If you go beyond, it's like a short hop basically. If you go beyond a certain frame with the button pressed, then you get the thinking pose and the menu opens up. So that sort of explains it.